Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. Thank you all for joining me. So, I just read a very disturbing and sad article from Breitbart News. I'm about to read to you guys in detail in reference to a Georgetown women's basketball team paying tribute to one of their players who was basically rather, shot and killed by a police officer, I believe, in September due to the fact that she tried to essentially kill the police officer with a knife. According to the article, she slashed his face a couple of times before he decided to use deadly force. And the pushback that the Georgetown women's basketball players and team is getting is the fact that they paid tribute to this woman who allegedly tried to physically assault a police officer. So let's get right into this article. I just want to say first and foremost, my prayers do go out to the family members of this particular young lady who lost her life. It's an unfortunate situation, but unfortunately, this is what ends up happening when people decide to use deadly force against an armed police officer or a police officer in general, period. This is what inevitably happens, and it's a sad situation. But let's get right into this article. Georgetown University's women's basketball team is facing pushback after paying tribute to former team player Sydney Wilson, who was shot and killed while allegedly swinging a knife at a Fairfax County police officer. And I can't really, I wish I could show you guys this picture here, but I guess this is her picture here, and she's holding a knife. She's holding she's wearing look like a white robe, and she's holding a knife in her right hand, and she's coming like this. And I don't know, look, this picture could be AI or whatever. I highly doubt it's AI. I don't think you guys can see it from here. It's kind of hard to see it, but you can't see it, but in her hand, in her right hand, she's holding a knife and she's coming like this. So I don't know if this is some kind of surveillance camera or what, but it's a sad, sad situation, okay? And a terrible situation, but we're going to get into the detail of that. It says Newsweek reported that Wilson died in a hospital on September 16, 2024 after being shot by the officer. So this happened some time ago. They also noted that body cam footage from the incident showed Wilson allegedly slashing the officer's face. So that is a body cam footage there. Unfortunately, like I said, you guys couldn't really see much. Allegedly slashing the officer's face with a knife and refusing orders to, quote, back up before being shot. Okay. The Daily Mail noted that Wilson was 6 feet 6 inches. Now, that's tall for a woman. And understandably so, she's a basketball player, and most of them are going to be tall. So can you imagine this kind of person coming to you, male or female, it doesn't matter. This 6 feet 6 inches coming at you like this with a knife. What are you going to do? Come on now. Let's stop it. We'll get into that. Daily Mail noted that Wilson was 6 feet 6 inches and allegedly charged the officer as he performed a welfare check on her. She allegedly, quote, slashed the officer multiple times in his face before the cop fired the gun, end quote. Following her death, Georgetown women's basketball posted to X. They followed that post with another, which said, once a Hoya, always a Hoya. I don't know what that means. We love you, Sid. We will keep you in our hearts. Neither of the posts expressed well wishes for the injured officer or sorrow over Wilson allegedly slashing him with a knife. Many X users responded critically to Georgetown's tribute to Wilson, with one user writing, quote, she tried to murder a police officer, end quote. Another wrote, quote, she tried to murder a cop. And yet another penned, you're praising an attempted cop killer. End of article. Yeah, that's a sad situation. Yet another person who decides to use physical force against a police officer and gets deleted, unfortunately, because of this situation. This is sad, and it's a sad scenario. But what's even more sad is the fact that here we go again with a black person being shot by a police officer. Now, I don't know if the police officer was white or black or what. I didn't hear anything else about this incident from any other YouTube content creators or whatever. I didn't hear anything else about it. And so maybe perhaps later on they may mention something about it, you know. But this, once again, is sad and it's a terrible situation. Let me just put out front, you know, if it doesn't matter what your race is, whether you white or whether you're black or whatever, it does not matter. When the police officers tell you to do something, do it. Okay? Regardless of what you might think. Okay? Well, regardless of what you might think, whether you think they're unjustified, whether you think they're racist, none of that matters. Because usually the case goes like this. You, as a civilian, usually don't have a gun or any way to protect yourself. The police officers do. And if they're telling you put your hands up or don't go in the thing right there or don't do this or don't do that, they're doing it for their safety as well as your safety, but they're doing it for their safety because they don't know what you're trying to do. If I'm telling you to put your hands up, please put your hands up, sir or ma'am, okay? Put your hands up and you, F you. You're this and that, F you ain't doing nothing. Acting like a fool, okay? A plumb dumb fool. If you acting like that, as a police officer, I'm going to take that as you resisting arrest or you're being combative. Now I have to up the use of force continuum thing here because now you're acting foolish. Now I have to take extra measures to contain the situation. Okay. These police officers, I would say 99.9% of them just want to do their job and go freaking home. They don't want to have to deal with all of this foolishness and this F the police and all this other nonsense that's been pumped into people's dead brain heads about law enforcement in general. They don't want to deal with that stuff. I'm going to assume that most of them don't want to deal with that. Okay, are there any racist police officers? I'm pretty sure there are. But let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. Most of the police officers we come in contact with every day, okay, let's be real, quit playing games and stop acting like we don't have any sense. Most of the police officers that we see every day on a day-to-day basis just doing their job. If you're doing something you ought not be doing, it is the police officer's job to stop you or say or question you or whatever. If you're doing something that arouses their suspicion, okay, that's called it's called probable cause, and I think there's another one just below that. Reasonable suspicion, okay? Reasonable suspicion is less than probable cause, but it is reason enough to be suspicious about something, okay? It's reason enough to say, okay, can I question you for a moment? It's not the same as probable cause. It's a step below that, but it's enough to say, hey, I need to question you, okay? Now, that was what I was taught when I was going to the police academy back in 2005. I graduated, in 2005. It was a 9-month course. And that was what I was taught in 2005. Okay. Now, could they have changed? And that was in the city of Cleveland. Okay. So I mean, I don't know. They could have changed that. You know, they could have changed it up here in the city of Cleveland. They could have changed it in other states. I don't know if this if this just merely statewide or citywide or national. I don't know. But I can say this here in the city of Cleveland. During my training, anything that was of reasonable suspicion allowed the police officer to stop the person or question the person and say, you know, it's something you're doing that's suspicious, you know, because if it's something that person is doing that is suspicious, the police officer has the right to stop, or at least when I was trained, okay, had the right to stop them and question them. Because why sit up here and wait till something happens? Because the police officer's suspicion could be right. It could be that you're going to off somebody, okay, but because I didn't want to offend anyone or invade anyone's rights or privacy, I just stood back and said, you know, and that's see, that's a bad thing because that hurts a lot of these police officers or prevents them from doing their job like they should. Things that police officers should address and deal with, a lot of them don't deal with it. A lot of them don't address it. And I hate to say it. I know people going to get triggered and butthurt by this, but it's the truth, okay? That's what a lot of police officers, particularly in white police officers, but now it's even with black police officers, because they put black police officers with the white ones now. You racist if you black and say something to them. They're holding back with addressing certain issues in the black American community because blacks, unfortunately, have been conditioned to believe that every police officer out there wants to off them because they're black. That is totally not true. And because of that, they're already seething with animosity and anger and hatred and bitterness at police officers. So the minute the police officer sees something that is suspicious or something that arouses, that gives them probable cause to stop them in a vehicle or address a situation in society, they get upset. They start cussing the police officer, resisting arrest, doing all these other type of things. Next thing you know, someone gets deleted. And now it's all on the mainstream news. And the way the mainstream news spins it, and everybody that's watching this video, you know good and well I'm telling the truth. The way the mainstream media spins it is they spins it as if it's a racial issue every single time. And that all that does is push and push the narrative, the hidden narrative, for lack of a better word, of white police officers are out just shooting black people simply because they're black. This is going to keep pushing it. And every time a white police officer or police officer in general, okay, as I said earlier, black police officers are being put in the same category, stops a person or asks a person the question, F you, man. You ain't nothing but a black. I've had them on my job. I'm just a mere security officer on my job in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Work at Tower City. I'm merely a security officer. Everyone that sees me knows that I'm just a security officer. My outfit says security. It doesn't say police officer. It doesn't say cop. It doesn't say law enforcement. It says security. I'm just a meager security guard. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? And I get, if I have to address the situation, man, F you, man. They act like they possessed, which is why I transferred over to the May, because I've been doing that. I've been dealing with that nonsense for 4 years at Tower City as bike patrol officer. I got tired of being cussed out and threatened simply for doing my job and being professional. So I asked my boss to transfer me over to the May Company building, which is right across the street from Tower City. And I worked there 4 days out of the week and only one day to get my 40 hours on Monday as a bike patrol officer. But I don't want to do that. God must have been really working, because very seldom since I've been working at the May Company building, I've had any real incidents at Tower City, because now they're trying to beef up the security. Now they got cameras and stuff all over. Well, yeah, of course. Of course, because we as security officers, our lives are freaking in danger because people don't have any sense. They've been radicalized by the mainstream media and other outlets, liberal, far left, radical outlets that are pushing the narrative that's poisoning these people's minds. And then when they're stopped by a police officer, when they're questioned by a police officer, or even questioned by a security officer, if you will, God forbid, or addressed to them by a security officer, or addressed by a police officer, God forbid, all hell breaks loose. And it need not be. Now here's a person whose life has been deleted, it's gone, because allegedly, according to the article and according to supposedly the camera stated, she came at the police officer with a knife and slashed his face. Well, what are you supposed to do? This 6 feet, 6 inch tall female coming at you, I'm pretty sure she was physically intimidating, clearly. And who is to say the police officer wasn't shorter? What do you think he's going to do? I'm just saying. A lot of times we make these judgments. See, as civilians, we oftentimes look at the police, oh, man, you didn't have to do it that way. You didn't have to do it that way. We're not out there. We're not out there dealing with what they're dealing with. I find it interesting that civilians, or I'm just calling them civilians because that's, you know, I'm speaking in the position of a police officer, you know. But I find it interesting that the regular people, let me put it like the regulars, us regulars, get mad at these police officers for using excessive force. And do some of them use excessive force? Yes, they do. But it's easier for us to sit up and look at on the outside and look and say they're using excessive force, and we're not on the situation. We don't know all the circumstances. We don't know everything that led up to it. We don't know how all the details. We're on the outside looking in, and we don't know what's going on. And it's interesting how we sit up and say these type of things, when if we ourselves are in a situation, I've heard people say it all the time, man, I do this, I do that, I blank that blank up, ain't no way. I take my pistol out and boom, 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 boom. Over what? Yeah, he cussed me out. He disrespected me. Oh, so it's perfectly okay for you to delete someone with a gun because they cussed you out or disrespected you. But a police officer who's having someone come at him with a knife or trying to kill him or trying to kill somebody else, take somebody else out, excessive force is all racist. Stop it. Just stop it. Use your brain some of the time. Some of the time. I ain't asking anybody to use their brain all the time. Just some of the time. But unfortunately, like I said, this incident ended up happening. And like I said, once again, my prayers go out to the family members of this particular young lady. This team has been ridiculed, okay, for basically the way it's being perceived. She's being, you know, they're paying tribute to her. Now, to pay tribute to her, I understand that, you know. I understand that, you know, why would you, you know, pay tribute to the officer? They're probably not going to do that. You know, first of all, most of them are black. They ain't going to do that anyway. I don't know too many black people. I hate to say that. That hurts my heart, breaks my heart. But I don't know too many black people in the community, particular in the lower income areas, that praise or recognize or respect police officers. I just don't know of any, myself personally. But in this situation, yeah, this is a sad situation. And the team is being ridiculed for not attributing any recognition or comfort to the man the police officer whose face had been slashed. I mean, where's that at? So, you know, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, this is what ends up happening when people overreact and take out weapons to hurt the police officers. Police officers have a right to defend themselves. We do, so why shouldn't they? Just saying, people. Yeah, so what do you guys think about this unfortunate situation? Leave your comment in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.